Okay, cool. Like I said, name is Thabang Ramatsosa. So my topic today is from insight to implementation and really unlocking BIM value in your organization. So what am I? So I'm a pre-sale design application engineer at Modena. So I'm a bit on the sales side, but I'm also on the tech side. Right. I have an architectural background and in multidisciplinary background. So, I talk to the MEP guys, the QSS, etc. Okay. So, I just want to anchor what I'm going to talk about today. Thank you for the other presenters. They really went deep today. So I'm going to just sort of try and wrap around what they say. Right. First things first, I think we all think there is this destination. It get to BIM. It's not a destination. I want to open your mind to BIM is an operational process, right? So it's not just the software. It's how your business functions, right? And then it lays down the foundation for digital transformation, okay? So today, I'm going to just give you a little reality check. And then I'm going to go into industry problems. So I sit with executives at different companies, managers, technical people, etc. So I see these problems firsthand. Then I'm going to tell you about the BIM maturity gap. So how do you in your own organization realize that there is a gap, right? Then the cost of poor or no implementation. Where's it at? Okay. So just last week, one of our big clients rejected a subcontractor because of their BIM maturity. Right? I mean, on a 400 million rand project, ouch. Ouch. So unfortunately, some companies want to learn the hard way, and instead of being proactive, they want to be reactive. Only now do they want to adopt BIM, etc., etc., etc. Question, how many of you have lost contracts because of your BIM maturity? No one. No one yet. Ouch, right? So would you rather lose money because you didn't implement BIM or lose money because you implemented BIM? That's the question. Then I'm going to really try and explain the value of BIM, right? And what it actually is. I'm going to go into BIM as an organizational framework. So let's come out of the project a little bit, right? How do you adopt it as an organization? Okay? Then I'm going to give you a transformative or a transformation framework. How do you get to BIM? How do you adopt BIM? How do you transform your organization into a BIM space? And then I'm going to tell you about some BIM ecosystems. Okay, that's where Modena comes in. Okay, so the reality check. The reality check is we are now at a point whereby we're already entering into an AI phase of digital delivery. We're already there. So if you're still struggling with BIM, how are you going to adopt the next phase? Right? I'll say it again. If you're still struggling with BIM, how are you going to adopt the next phase? Right? And again, many organizations are still struggling with BIM. Why is that? We here, guys. I mean, so where are we? I like using the slide because it just gives us context in terms of where we are now, right? In the 90s, we did paper drawings by hand, fine liners, etc. In the 2000s, we did some AutoCAD, still at 2D, going a little bit 3D, but not so good. In the 2010s, we did really good 3Ds, but we started moving into the cloud. Currently where we are, we're sitting with cloud models, a lot of plugins, managed CAD data, there's ISO 19650, and we're moving into AR. Right? Core issues. The one thing I realized when I'm sitting with these executives, managers, and technical people is that there's no strategic plan. So let's park BIM. There's no strategic planning in the business, how the business is going to grow, how it's going to adopt BIM, etc. And that's the first point of failure. Because you just lost the project, now you want to get into BIM, you didn't even plan for it. You didn't even plan for the change management, how you're going to adopt it, feasibility, etc. That's the number one problem that we see. Problem number 2, I'll reiterate this. Reactive, not proactive. Right? You just lost a contract last week, now you're at Modena next week. You should have been at Modena last year. Right? Why? Because you're not going to transform in a month. It takes a little bit of time to get digital transformation, to get your people, to get your technology, and have a system of governance that can execute projects effectively. Okay? So I'll see you at Modena next week, right? I better see you at Modena next week. Good. Lack of structure. There's no structure. And this is not just with the documentation, there's no structure with the people, with the roles and responsibility, who's responsible for what. There's no structure. How do you deliver information? There's no structure. So lack of structure. Weak processes. So before BIM, your processes need to be intact. BIM is not going to solve your process systematic problems. It's not. It's a platform. So if you come with your systematic problems onto the platform amplifies. Not so?
Yes.
You can send transmittals on ACC, but we still have people chatting on WhatsApp. I'm on site. What's going on here? It happened. I say to the guy, send the transmittal. But then I have to log in and your WhatsApp is not recorded. It's really not. How many of us do that? Yeah. Fragmented silos. With one of the biggest companies I do consulting for, they have multi-branches, and the branches were not talking to each other. The problems they were having in Cape Town was a result in Joburg. So if they've just communicated with each other, problems in Cape Town would have been resolved. The problems in PE, Cape Town resolved. So if they just spoke to each other. So why does it take an external person to come in to tell you you're not talking to each other? Right? Processes. Disconnected systems and workflows. Branches in Cape Town don't know what's happening in Joburg. Branches in PE don't know what's happening in Cape Town because the systems are disconnected, right? Okay. So, how do you find these gaps in your organization? So I'm going to take a tiered approach because it's not just on one level. So don't just think about the level you are at. Think about the levels above you and below you. So from an executive level, there needs to be a strategic buy. Okay? I still go to companies today where the owners don't know what's happening on the ground. They're delivering burden, they don't know how. But they know it's costing them money. But it's also making them money. Right? So executives also need to be educated on the BIM systems, processes, etc. Then we go to management level. They deal with the frameworks and implementation and how to implement. Right? This is core. Because failure at this point, it doesn't cascade down. The failure cascades down. Right? When we think about BIM, we're only looking at it from an operational level, are we doing it? Are we going to do it? But it's the 2 levels above that actually determine how it's done at an operational level, right? We talk about a CV, but we are on SharePoint. Right? Exactly. I know. I mean, I went to a company the other day. They do projects for the banks, and they were SharePoint. I'm like, does your client know that their data is on SharePoint?
Yeah.
Next, we do on ACC. No, true story. Again, fragmented systems and processes. If the processes from an executive management and operational level are broken, it's a tiered approach, your BIM will not be successful. You need to fix those things for your BIM to be successful. Right? When I'm talking about people, talking about, obviously their skills are limited. Why? Because they don't have enough training or knowledge. So you have to train up your people. Low adoption. Why? Because they don't have the skills. Right? You're talking about siloed teams. The other teams doing better than the other. Right? Why are they not talking? We're talking about resisting to change. Okay, that's a big one for me. Why? Because, you meet Umbit that's been in the game 20 years. Here comes this young chap that's like, this is the way. And he goes, listen, I just want to make families and die. Like literally, that's what he said. And here you come with your ACC and your federated models and families. Yes, man. We're 2 years in now, and he's fully on ACC. He's using federated models. He's even looking at content catalog to put their families. So some people take a little bit of time to uptake, but you eventually get there. Then processes, inconsistent workflows. You can't this week submit an email, next week you submit it through ACC. Next week you're submitting on WhatsApp because it's quicker. You need consistent workflows, right? Poor governance, lack of standards, manual and repetitive. So if you don't have governance and processes, everything you do is going to be a manual process, right? You can't even streamline because your workflows are inconsistent. Then technology. So if we're having a problem with purple and the people in the process, the purple, which is the technology, again, will amplify the problems, right? They'll alleviate some, but technology needs to serve the people and the processes, right? So the technology would be obviously disconnected tools. The tools are still disconnected, understanding systems, siloed data, and limited integration. So if any of what I say has resonated with you, you need to come see us. Okay? Why? Because we're trying to bring you over to to the connected digital maturity. With the people, it means they're skilled and empowered because they have support. There's a collaborative culture. They want to work with their colleagues. Data silo, one silo to the next, right? They're working together. Change leadership, okay? If your leadership doesn't want to change the leaders. I'm kidding. So, what I mean by this is, from a leadership perspective, the change should be seen from there, right? The leaders should say, we are on ACC, we've cut off all these other systems. Or give your people a timeline to say, at this particular point, I'm cutting off other systems, we're on this system, right? Continuous learning, that's very important. It doesn't stop. So you don't just go for one set of training. You need to go through multiple trainings. After 3 years, you forgot what you read 3 years ago. Go again. Then, processes. Standardize the workflows. So if we're submitting through transmittals, we're submitting through transmitters. Right? No WhatsApps, etc. Strong governance. The governance needs to be strong. This is how the company does things. It needs to cascade down from leadership level all the way to operational level. Right? Clear processes. Some of you still don't know what the process in the company is. You have an idea of what it is. Somebody new comes along, I do it like this. They follow you, but the blind eating the blind. Right? Clear processes should be a document that you can give to the next person. This is how we do things. Right? Continuous improvement. As I said, we can't stop. But the people, continuous learning, processes, continuous improvement. Right? Then, technology, integrated platforms. That CDE needs to be a CDE. Right? Not just for you, but for external parties as well. Right? We have this thing we call is a bridging workflow. Some of you might know it, some of you might not. So you don't need to work in the other people's hub. You can work in your hub and bridge the information over on ACC. That means you still own your data, right? Then connected data. By bridging to your external parties, etc., the data is connected, right? Automation enabling. So certain things like your dashboards, weekly publishing, etc., you can start to automate those processes. Okay. Then scalable and future ready. Once you have these intact, you are scalable and you're future ready. So you're not going to lose that contract the next time it comes around. Right. Okay. So what's the cost of poor or no implementation? As I've said, lost projects. What's happening now in the industry, as we heard from some of our other clients, it's a requirement. So your clients are requiring it. And if you don't meet your client requirements, you don't get the job. Simple as that. Right? Project delays, extended timelines, while because the information is fragmented. Heavy manual effort, we're trying to streamline a lot of these things. The one client I was dealing with last week, they were still manually typing things in when they do specifications. No door tags, no window tags, floor tags, etc. Like, it's a very heavy manual process. What takes them 2 weeks, show them how to do it in 30 minutes. Doesn't mean to take you 2 weeks, Duplicated efforts. You're doing things on SharePoint, on email, on WhatsApp, on somewhere else. Duplicated efforts, right? Poor collaboration. Again, your teams are not talking to each other because your people processes, your technology are not talking to each other. Then, this is compounded. Not only do you lose on savings, you lose on future income as well. Right? So that is the real cost. Okay, understanding BIM value. So BIM helps with, firstly, collaboration. I hope you guys can read that. I had to squeeze some stuff in. So BIM helps with collaboration. We have design, collab, and model coordination. Information management. It versions correctly. So every time you upload the document, you don't have to guess what division it is. Right? Operational efficiencies. Reduces error because you're not using drawings from last month that you got from Geeked on WhatsApp. Decision making. This one is a very important one for me because it helps you with the decision making process. A lot of the decisions we make are delayed because we don't get the information on time, or we're sitting with the wrong information, right? It helps with decision making. And the quicker your decision making is, the quicker we get stuff done. Life cycle value. There's value from inception to construction, to operations, to facility management, right? So you should not just think about what you are doing. Think about from concept design all the way to operations, all the way to this building will still be there 25 years from now, right? And then digital transformation. So having cloud systems, standardized processes, and then being ready to scale for the future. Obviously, there's a lot more I can delve deep into, like your coordination, documentation, construction process, etc. So there's really a lot of value in BIM. And lastly, I want to talk about analytics and reporting. If you're doing BIM in one ecosystem, you can pull the information to report. How many projects do we have? Are we on track, etc. Right? You can pick up errors very quickly. Just yesterday we were doing model health checks. Right? We can easily start to see there's going to be issues here and we can address those problems before we get to site. So yeah, what I say is you need to layer BIM as an organizational operating system. Okay? So not just the BIM, but your people. So your people, teams, stakeholders, leadership, collaboration, processes should all be on BIM. Right? Processes, standards, governance, workflows, QA, QC processes should all be on BIM. Data, information, asset data, etc. should all be in the same place. And then obviously your production software. So with this, it's a little bit difficult, but you want to ensure you're on the same version or the same software. You know, so if you're on Revit 2025, you should all be on Revit 2025. You know, if you're using a specific version of a software, it should be discussed. The CDE software, so like your ACC, we all agree that we are going to use ACC in this particular manner, etc., etc. Document management, cloud collaboration. We have a client at the moment. It's a Dubai client. They are on another platform. I won't say what that platform is, but they're also on ACC. I'm telling them ACC does everything, but they still prefer. So they're one leg in, one leg out. You know? It's unnecessary. And then, if all this is done correctly, we can pull dashboards. Right? The executives, they love the dashboards. You know? Pete has been working 32 hours on this project, yes. They love the dashboards, right? We're behind on this project, they can do something about it quickly. Because as it stands, they don't know what's happening in projects, right? It's hearsay. They're doing good, but projects are just, you know, going south. Okay. So here's a little framework I put together for you guys in terms of transformation. Okay. We need to start from the covered list level. The standards, BIM execution plan, templates, policies, procedures, they should all be aligned. You know, so I used ISO 19650 as an alignment for this. Then, as I mentioned, processes and workflows should all be aligned. I'm talking about your coordination, your collaboration, QA/QC processes. All your processes should all be aligned, right? Then, the difficult one, the people and change. You should have change management with this, right? Because why? Pete just wants to create families and die, right? So, The leadership alignment should be there. Skill development. So you should have detailed skill development plans for your people. Right? 1 year plan, 2 year, 3 year plan. Then training and support. Your people need constant training and support. Why? Because how many of us have gotten stuck on something that we didn't know what to do, but somebody else had an answer? Right? Call Modena, hey, I'm struggling with this. We resolved it in 5 minutes. You struggle for 2 weeks with the same problem. It's unnecessary. You lose time and mind. Right? Then change management. You need to have change. I think we've reiterated this quite a few times now. You need to have some level of change management to go along with this. Then we go to technology enablement. The fun stuff, the getting your ACC, docs, etc., getting your rivets, automating the processes, cloud collaboration, etc. Because everything else is aligned. Right? Now we try to align things at the 4th stage. That's why it's difficult. Right? Imagine you don't know how to drive a car. And you jump in the car, It jumps in your car. Only now you're trying to figure out, how do I put it in gear? Driving is easy, right? We all know how to drive, right? But for a person who doesn't know how to drive, if you don't know how to BIM, it's going to be difficult. Same concept, right? I was saying to someone the other day, I don't feel like I'm coming to work when I come to work, because it's so ingrained in me, it's easy now. Right? So we should try and get to that point. Then the intelligence and scalability. Again, once step 1 to 4 is done, we can generate reports, analytics. The life cycle is visible to everyone, especially the executives, the people making the decisions. Right? A new software comes along, they go, because they don't know what's going on. We need this new software. If everything was visible, they know we need the new software. Right? Continuous improvement. The theme for today is continuous improvement for everything. People, technology, processes. Right? So that takes you from a low maturity level all the way to a high maturity level. If you're wondering, this is exactly what we do with our tribes. We standardize their governance, we talk to them about their processes, talk to them about their people, training, upskilling. We do the technology enablement and obviously continuous improvement. Right? And then the BIM supports an ecosystem. So what supports this transformative enablement? Strategic support. So it shouldn't just be tech support, it should be strategic support. For example, one of our clients, they're in the medical field, they do projects locally in South Africa, for example. Right? You just asked the question, what would happen if you tendered projects internationally? What would happen? With the same people, same skills, their revenue would go up. Right? Because they'll be earning in dollars, dirhams, whatever the case may be. With the same people, same process, same technology. If you just reposition where you're doing your projects, right, your revenue goes up. Was they doing projects in Ghana and what? Governance. How do we support you with your governance? We help you a lot with your documents, right? A lot of our guys are going into different companies, they're reviewing your documents, and we're strategically repositioning how your company does governance. Training and enablement. We have a lot of training, literally, for everything. Your Revit, your ACC, Docs, Fusion, you name it. Right? Not only that, we're continuously improving. So now we're on the AI bandwagon, that's what we do. Right? We still have our foundation, but we're still at the edge of what the industry requires. Then, technical support. Call us. Email. Gabby's not here today. She's our technical support manager. Yes, she's on it, hey? Like, query comes in, deal with it. You know, if it goes above 24 hours, Gabby's gonna call. So it's so nice to have a person with a whole technical team behind them so that when you experience an issue, you just call us, one of us can handle it, right? Operational support. Sometimes some of our clients need help on projects. We're there, you know? And the nice thing is, because we're already there, we're familiar with the projects, familiar with the workflows. It doesn't take us a day or two to get familiar with it. We're already there, right? Then, automation and innovation. I can't tell you how many workflows we've automated. You know, if we see you doing something in a manual way, we say, hey, how about you automate this, right? Then, again, continuous improvement. If you guys are at our last event, we on that back wagon of continuous improvement. Because an AI event, the next big thing, we're on it, right? Okay, so final thoughts. Key takeaways is the disconnection is real. Okay, everything is disconnected, information. So if you have a gap with your people, processes, and technology, you definitely have a maturity issue. Systems drive success, so build systems, build processes, the BIM of success. Then, value is realizable, meaning you'll get more projects, you have less people working on projects. Like, for example, there's a hotel project happening in Kenya, one of our clients. Instead of them having like 10 people as usual, they have 3 people doing like a large scale building. So the other 9 people can focus on something else. That makes sense. People are central. So yes, we're for the technology, but you need to bring your people across. And finally, transformation is continuous. So it's not a destination. We're not there yet. We are there, but you know, it's a continuous thing. So you should always be on this little cycle of strategic alignment, strong governance. Even if you have these things in place, have review processes. You know, is what we put in place 3 years ago effective still now? Right? What needs to change? Ask yourselves those questions. And all of this should be measured. That's something I've noticed different companies don't do. They don't measure their success. Is what we implemented last year successful today? Yes or no? Do we continue with it? Do we develop it? Do we drop it? What needs to happen? So those conversations need to happen. Okay, cool. That's it from me. Any questions?